In this video, I will show you how to work the horizontal invisible seaming technique. First, when you've been working in garter stitch, and then when you've been working in stocking stitch. Today, we're going to be using our Crazy Sexy wool in the rocky grey colourway, and you'll also need a sewing needle. Let's get started. This technique is used for sewing together horizontal edges, like the cast on and cast off edges. Today, I'm going to show you how to join two cast off edges. Before you start, position your pieces so that the right side is facing upwards and align the two edges that you're going to join so that they are lined up stitch by stitch, like so. For this video, I'm going to show you how to work the seam using a contrasting colour yarn, but you should try and match your yarn to your knitted fabric to make a truly invisible join. So I've threaded my sewing needle and I'm going to begin by inserting that sewing needle through the two edge strands on my piece, going from back to front, like so. I'm going to pull my needle through and I'm going to leave a bit of a tail which I'll weave in at the end. Now you're going to take your needle through the two edge strands on your bottom piece, which correspond with the two on the top. And again, you're going to take the needle from the back to the front, like so. Now you're going to go back to this top piece, and if you look at your fabric, you should be able to see that you've got this loop here. So here's your cast off stitch, and then directly above it is this loop. And you can see it's made of two strands. So I'm going to take my needle underneath those two strands, like so, and I'm going to pull it through. Then, if you look on your bottom piece, you can see that that loop is mirrored. So you have this loop sitting below your cast off stitch here. So I'm going to take my needle and take it under those two strands, like so. I'm going to pull it through. And you can see that you've created something that sort of mimics a knitted stitch. And this is the beginning of your horizontal invisible seam. So you're just going to continue to repeat these steps, working along your cast off edge to join the two pieces. So I'm going to find that second stitch here and go underneath these two strands, like so. And pull my yarn through, and then I'm going to find the same corresponding stitch on my other piece, take my needle underneath those two strands, pull it through. And let's see that again. So working each stitch in turn, going to take my needle underneath like so, pull it through, and then underneath this corresponding stitch. So you should find you get a nice, neat, even join. This is often the technique used to join shoulder seams if you are finishing a garment. But just whenever you come to seam two cast off edges or a cast on, cast off edge, this is the seam you would use. So just keep on repeating these steps until you reach the end of your two pieces and that they're entirely joined, like so. So this is how you work the horizontal invisible seam when working in garter stitch. Now let's see what it looks like when you're seaming two pieces of stocking stitch. So as you did when working in garter stitch, you're going to begin by laying your two pieces so that the stitches line up with one another and the right side of the fabric is facing upwards. Now I'm going to begin on my top piece, and you can see that this is sort of your first defined stitch here on the edge, but you might have a couple of sort of strands just over to the right of it. So I'm going to take my needle up through those strands, working from the back to the front, pull my yarn through. And as I said before, remember to leave a bit of a tail and you can weave this into your knitted fabric at the end. So I'm going to find those corresponding strands on the bottom piece, so you can see that this is your first defined stitch, and then you've got this sort of edge stitch that looks a bit funny. So again, working from back to front, take your needle up through. So now you're going to take your needle, and you see that this is your stitch here, and you're going to take your needle underneath those two strands like so and pull it through. And then you're going to find the corresponding stitch, which should sit directly below the stitch that you just took your needle under, and you're going to take your needle underneath like so. And you can see that you've almost looks like a knitted stitch. So the fabric continues on and it's a seamless invisible join. So let's see that again. You're going to take your sewing needle under the two strands which make up the next stitch along, like so. And again, finding the corresponding stitch on your other piece which you're joining. Taking your needle underneath and pulling it through. And you can see you're forming this nice neat join. So just keep repeating these steps until your two pieces are completely joined. Show you a few more stitches. So just always remember to join the corresponding stitches, and that will give you a nice flat join. So there you have it. That's how to work the horizontal invisible seaming technique, first on garter stitch and then on stocking stitch.